Seth is going to be with us. We're talking about hypertension and salt. Bring him in now.
Good morning, Synergy TV, Stefan Reese, and to all of our viewers. All right, so we are continuing from last week, because last week we looked at hypertension. So this would be basically hypertension part 2.
Okay.
And last week we looked at causes. One was stress. We looked at RAS overactivation. We looked at mineral deficiencies and imbalances, fluid imbalances, and we also looked at metabolic and toxic damage. What we're going to look at today is one that affects 3 out of those 4, and somewhat can affect the 4th one as well. All right, the one that would affect stress, RAS overactivation, and the mineral and fluid imbalance, and that has to do with salt.
All right.
But not just salt, we're going to look at the interplay between salt and insulin. All right?
Salt and insulin, you say?
Yes, salt and insulin, because that is what makes the big difference there. You see, what happens is salt operates very different in the body in the presence of high insulin in comparison to when there is low insulin levels in the body. All right?
Okay.
So for decades, the mistake being made, let me just share my screen here, right? The mistake that have been made for decades was blaming salt for something that insulin was causing. All right?
Okay.
So let me know if you could see
yeah, we're seeing it. Yeah.
All right, so you see in the salt and insulin.
Right.
All right. So insulin has well, it's a storage hormone, right? I remember, I think it was last year or year before, where we looked at in the relationship between insulin and glucagon, all right? And we saw that insulin is actually a storage hormone. So it's storage, it causes things to store. So it can cause fat storage, it causes glucose to enter your cells. It also causes salt storage, all right? So we have to understand this relationship that's taking place here. Now, when somebody is consuming sugar, carbohydrates, or processed foods, ultra-processed foods, they're getting a lot of sugar, which is going to cause insulin levels to spike.
Okay.
Now, that triggers the kidneys and causes the kidneys to hold on to sodium. Therefore, your body is going to hold on to fluids. What's that going to do? That is going to cause your total volume of fluids in your body to increase, your blood volume. Now, if you have more blood in the same piping system, your arteries, it means pressure is going to be placed on the walls because there is now a higher volume of fluids flowing through those vessels.
Okay.
And what is that going to cause? That there itself is hypertension.
Oh.
That is hypertension.
Okay.
Right? And that's because of the insulin causing your body to hold on to salt and hold on to its fluids. Right? Now, think about it like this. If you're like a dam, you know a dam have the gates, right? The gates for the dam, right? Now, when insulin levels are high, it's like closing more of those dams. So what's going to happen? Water is going to build up in the dam because these gates that are there to allow the water to pass through to keep the levels in the dam at particular levels are now being closed shut because insulin levels are high.
Okay.
So poor salt is getting the blame when salt is essential for life. It is essential for your nervous system. It is essential for every muscle contraction, including your heartbeat. Right?
Right.
Without salt, you are literally dead. So the real culprit is actually insulin, not salt.
So what, okay, What causes the insulin now to reach that stage?
Right. Insulin is released in response to sugar.
So we come back to sugar.
Always comes back to sugar. Always
Right,
comes back to sugar. So for decades, right, researchers would have noticed that people with hypertension, they were retaining sodium. So they jumped to the conclusion that salt is the problem.
Right.
Right? Now, they completely ignored the bigger picture, Stefan. What was driving that retention? Right? And that reminded me, some years ago, I was watching a documentary on Netflix, and it was a documentary on cancer, 3-hour-long documentary. It took me days to watch it. You know why? For the whole time I'm watching it, I'm waiting as like, when these doctors and scientists go in and ask, what causing this cancer? What causing it? Right. You know, throughout the entire documentary, not a soul asks, maybe we should look at maybe what causing the cancer, you know, maybe it has something that causing the cancer.
Right.
You know, no part of it they looked at that. All they are looking at is how to treat it, how to treat it, how to treat it.
Right.
Right? So is this a simple, what's the word I'm looking for? Is it that the doctors are just, or the scientists and researchers have a simple-minded reasoning? Is it that is the problem, being simple-minded? Or is it that they have or are manipulated or controlled by people that have in the industries that profit from sickness?
Right.
Right? Because I can't see you trying to treat somebody for something and not even considering the cause and just coming to these a little child would come to a conclusion like that. A little child would come to a conclusion like that.
Yeah, but with anything that goes wrong, if your refrigerator stops working, right? You wouldn't just run in and start to fix every part of the refrigerator, right? You have to find out what caused the refrigerator to stop working.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. You want to go for cause first. But when you could profit for life over treating something,
yeah,
right, without having to look at cause, right, that makes you think a little differently. What is the motivation? Now, I could tell you the motivation is the profit. Because I remember I did the topic on the Flexner report, yes, and show you how the pharmaceutical industry, and it goes back to the Rockefellers and so forth, and how all of that interplay with when they took over medical education, right? And this is why there's no focus on cause, because people are here and accepting something like, oh, well, I have to take this blood pressure medication for the rest of my life, and we're not questioning that. That doesn't seem odd or strange. We just accept that, right? Salt. Here's something very, very interesting. The #1 most used IV in the hospital is simple sodium chloride, which is salt water.
Right.
The #1 most used IV in hospitals worldwide is simple salt water. #1, right? That alone should tell you that salt is not the enemy. But here we are blaming salt when the issue is actually insulin. But when you have multiple industries, and I'm not just talking about pharmaceutical industries, when you have food industries that benefit from sugar, and you have pharmaceutical industries that benefits from people who get damaged from sugar by selling them medication, and then you have surgical industries that benefit from people who have to do surgery because of the damage from the sugar, and then you have medical personnel that profits from having to treat and administer these surgeries and medications to people that are being damaged from the sugar. Do you think they are going to address the root cause, which is the sugar that is spiking the insulin levels that causing the body to mismanage salt?
Yeah, I mean, one of the simple things that I've asked people in the past, ever since I started to have you on, and you kind of opened my eyes to looking at salt as not the enemy. A simple thing, right? I say, does sugar have any healing benefits? In the history of healing, has anybody say sugar will heal this for you?
Yeah, you want to take some sugar.
Take some sugar, right. Go heal that, right? A cut, you know, you might have a bruise, you might have the cold. You understand? You have the cold. Most people say, boy, you need to go and take a salt to get the mucus and things. You understand? To get the cold out your system. Right? So you know, sugar doesn't have any healing agent, right? To my knowledge. But salt does. So how could something that is used to heal be bad for you?
Yeah.
Of course, too much of anything
go and take a sugar flush, right? Yeah. You don't hear that, right? Go take a sugar flush. You go take a salt flush, right? Yeah. So, you know, we have to change our approach. Now, mind you, remember, this is just one aspect of the whole topic of hypertension.
Hypertension, yeah.
Salt and insulin are not the only factors involved in it. There are other contributing factors, all right?
Okay.
I mean, like last week we looked at stress. We looked at the RAS overactivation, the mineral and fluid imbalance, and it also have the metabolic and toxic damage that's taking place as well. And these are all things that we're also going to touch on as well as we move forward, more on this topic, because there are other aspects involved in it. But one of the biggest misconceptions is this whole salt dilemma, that people have this hatred and dislike for salt. For example, I had somebody that did a consultation with me, and they said, when they consume salt, they noticed that their pressure went up. I said, well, how did you consume this salt? Say, I bought some red mangoes. I was eating a couple packs of red mangoes, and you know it has salt in red mango, and when I ate it, my pressure went up. I say, so you blame the salt, but you ain't even got the fact that you're eating red mangoes? Right? So wait, so the red mangoes that have all the sugar and the preservatives and all of that, people completely ignore, all of that. Everything else. And you just went and target and says the salt? Right? You eat a whole preserved snack, right? And a couple packs of it too, right? A couple packs. Right? But that's the that's the programming that we have. That's the programming that we have. And this is what I address at Chetwayo's Holistic Health Clinic. Right? When people come to me, they come to me for breakthroughs. I deliver to you the truth. The truth is not always comfortable. In fact, the truth is hardly ever comfortable. But it's the truth none-regardless. Right? So we have to understand that you have to be willing to accept truth if you want to heal. There are people who have come to me and they didn't want to accept the truth, and they say, well, you know what, they're going to go back with the healthcare system because they don't want to change their eating, their lifestyle. And next I heard from them, they died. Right? There is no other way to truly heal the body. And what we need to understand is healing is not swapping out one illness for another. Because that's what a lot of people are doing, Right? They're swapping out one illness for another. They say, yes, I used this and I got rid of this, but now you have these other conditions. That was caused from what you used, but they don't know that. I re-educate. And that is why I tell people nutritional therapy should always come first and foremost in your defense against sickness. Right? Well, and we need to do that. We need to focus on nutritional therapy. And I encourage people, book your appointment. Come by me. I'm going to go through your health history. I'm going to go through your nutrition and show you where you are making the mistakes, where you are making the errors, and what you need to do, and coach you on how to fix that. That's how we operate.
All right. Well, well, we're out of time, but thanks a lot. And for those of you who've been listening, feel free to contact Seth at Chetwayo's Holistic Health Clinic. It's very simple, 279-3935 or 761-1952. And you're going to learn a lot today when you contact Seth, all right, when you start that consultation. Seth, thanks a lot, man.
All right, thanks for having me, and stay tuned for part 3 next week.
Nice, man.